My name is Kevin Fernandez and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today we're going to learn the adventurous survival game, Quest for the Antidote. This 2 to 6 player game designed by Tom Deshane and published by Upper Deck Entertainment. In this game, you and the other players have been poisoned by the Mad King. Armed with your wits and a list of antidote ingredients, you must face the wilds, monsters, and your fellow players to be the first to the apothecary with the completed items. Now let's go to the table and learn to play Quest for the Antidote. Place the board in the center of the table. Then each player selects a colored pawn and a corresponding breath tracker token and the corresponding deck of 10 ingredients cards. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. I'm going to get these little pawns off here for now. And that's what they each look like. So there's pawns that are red, green, blue, purple, orange, and yellow, and the cards that go with it. So I'm going to take this down for now. We're going to bring back the pawns. Players place their pawns on the apothecary hut in the center of the board and their breath tracker tokens on the number 50 on the breath tracker. Next, players shuffle the 10 ingredients cards and randomly selects 4. So don't worry folks, I will shuffle once I do the gameplay. I'll shuffle more thoroughly once I do the gameplay. These will represent the ingredients they will need to collect for the unique antidotes. The player will place their 4 ingredient cards on the table in front of them face up, with the black vial at the top. Each player's remaining 6 ingredient cards are returned to the box. Now find the 2 level 10 monsters in the deck of the 50 monster cards, King, Mithrandates, and the Dragophant, and temporarily set them aside. Shuffle the remaining 48 monster cards, then split the deck into 2 equal stacks, or as equal as you can get there, because let's face it, when you cut cards, when people cut cards, it's crazy. With King, Mithridates, and the Dragophant mixed into both. So we're gonna cut that, put that in there. We're gonna also cut that. We're gonna cut this deck. Going to put that in there of the 2 stacks, and then take the stack and then place it on top of the other. Now drawing from the top of the deck of 50 monster cards, place them face down one at a time in each of the 10 monster spaces on the board. Go around 5 times until each monster has 5 cards in it. Next, shuffle the 10 loot cards and randomly select 4. 1 for each corner of the board. One will be placed face up in each corner of the board on the designated loot card treasure chest. The 6 remaining loot cards will be returned to the box and are out of play for the game. Finally, the 18 meddling cards are shuffled and dealt to the players. In the game with 2 players, you get 5 meddling cards. In the game with 4 players, with 3 players, With 3 players, 4 are distributed. And with 4 players, 4 or more, 3 meddling cards are distributed. We are going to play a 2-player game, so we need at least 5. Meddling cards are dealt face down into the player's hand, but for your sake, I'm going to show you them. The debris token and 8 drop cards are put aside until they come into play, if they come into play at all. And that completes the setup. Each player starts with 50 breaths. Every time a player rolls a 6-sided die for movement or a 10-sided battle die, they lose a breath and gets 1 step closer to expiring. All players' breaths are tracked down the edges of the board on the breath tracker grid. If any player is reduced to 0 breaths, that player expires and is out of the game. Even with bonuses, no player may have more than 50 breaths. Each player will start their turn by rolling the 6-sided die to determine how many spaces to move on the board. That player may choose any path they move in any spaces forwards or backwards, in any direction, even on the same turn. A monster fight is triggered when a player approaches a monster and lands on the red space leading to the monster. However, if a player lands on red space while traveling away from the monster, it doesn't activate, and you can just continue your turn. No monsters will attack you while your back is turned, I promise. When a monster fight is triggered, a player flips the top of the monster card face up and must defeat the revealed monster before moving on or die trying. Players may also retreat and reverse direction if they have any movement left in their movement roll. To defeat the monster, a player must roll the 10-sided die and get the number that is equal to or higher than the monster's level. The player rolls until the monster is defeated or until they decide to retreat. Once a monster is defeated, it is put into the discard pile on the table. Remember, each time a player rolls a 10-sided battle die, they lose a breath on the breath tracker. Note, monster decks don't count as a space. Once a monster is defeated, or a monster deck is entirely cleared, the player may glide over the monster space and to the next step of the path. Some high-level monsters, though difficult to beat, may offer more helpful bonuses or valuable drop items that can greatly assist a player. Bonuses and drops are listed at the bottom of a high-level monster's card. Some drops benefit the player for the remainder of the game, while others are used once and then discarded. So, for example, Dragon Wing Glider, you get this when you defeat a specific monster, and it increases your movement. Meddling cards can be used at any point during the game to hinder fellow players from advancing. Meddling cards can also be traded in at any time to regain 5 breaths. On the breath tracker, once a meddling card is used or traded, it is discarded from the game. If a player runs out of breath, their pawn is left on the spot of expiration. Each player may loot the body if they ever occupy the same space as the expired player's pawn. A player may only loot an expired pawn once per turn and only for needed ingredient items or unused perpetual drop or loot cards. The player to return to the apothecary's hut with all the necessary ingredients for their antidote is victorious. Sometimes, though, all players expire and the game wins. And that's all you need to know to play Quest for the Antidote. If you have any questions about this, please put them in the comments below. And be on the lookout for an upcoming playthrough video of Quest for the Antidote. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to make sure you get it. But until then, thanks for the views.